All right, guys, I've given you two best of 2023 horror lists. Now it's time to get down to the nitty gritty. We're going to talk about the absolute worst of the year. This is part of the fun of every year, is going back and just kind of remembering not only the good stuff, but also the crap. And so that's what we're going to do in this video. So anyway, top 10 worst horror movies of 2023. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome to the worst of the year. Always a fun time. Trying a different backdrop. One nice thing about having a bigger studio is, I said this when I first moved in this house, I could try a lot of different angles. And this one's a little bit more confined, but got my VHS collection in the back. I need to paint that wall though, okay? Let me know, guys, what color should I paint that wall, okay? Because I think white's not cutting it. I remember I've used orange in the past. I've used like a cosmic blue in the past. I'm thinking maybe like a dark charcoal gray. What do you think about that, guys? Is that a horrible idea? Let me know. And should I do semi-gloss or should I do eggshell? I have questions, okay? I got decisions I need to make. But anyway, let's get right down to this list. Now, let me put out some rules before we get started. I avoid really, really bad movies like The Plague. I don't go out and see everything. If somebody tells me this is complete crap and everybody is saying the same thing, I usually won't even bother. And there's a lot of stuff that just kind of passes me by. So know that my worst list is usually going to be a lot smaller than the stuff that I liked. And I'll even say for this list, there are at least 8 that I would consider stinkers. Everything else is meh to okay. But as always, I give you 3 honorable mentions, and I like to front load these videos, the worst list, with some stuff that I might have missed that's actually worth your time. But anyway, I ended up seeing this Christmas horror movie called A Creature Was Stirring after I put out both my lists for the best of 2023, horror-wise. And this movie was so good that I felt like, okay, I have to at least mention this and put it in a list. Even though this is in the worst list, this would have probably been easily in my top 10 of the year. It was that refreshing, that good. Scout Taylor Compton is in it. Really small environment. It's a creature feature. I would just suggest watching my review, but this is a movie that you could easily unpack after you get through with it. It's sort of a home invasion movie, and you got this mother, and she's got this daughter that transforms into this creature, okay? That's the basic plot synopsis, but trust me, it goes a lot further than that. Some great Christmas atmosphere. Definitely some bloody scenes in here too. But one thing you definitely need to know, some of the best practical effects I've seen in this year, maybe years, okay? I loved the practical effects in this movie. Okay, next honorable mention is The Boogeyman, and you know what? I will admit I forgot to put this on my Letterboxd list along the way. Every now and then I'll forget to put it in there. And I definitely wanted to mention this one because I think this would have been in my second list that I did. Another really good, effective creature feature that's also like a slow burn. We have so many of these creature features that have like supernatural elements, and this is definitely one of them. But also I really liked the characters in this one. You do have kind of your cliche young character that is being bullied by these really superficial characters. That is kind of a negative of the movie. But I think where it really shines is in the, I guess, creature feature department. The last act really saved this movie. And I didn't hate the first 2 acts. It opens up with quite a chilling scene, actually. So I think there was a lot going for this movie. I probably would have put it like maybe right under The Nun 2. And last honorable mention, another one that I liked, didn't love, didn't hate was Natty Knox. This was the return of Danielle Harris with Dwight H. Little. One of my all-time favorite horror movies, Halloween 4. They worked on that movie together. I think this should have been a lot better, having both of them return. But I will say, it turned out better than I thought it was gonna be. I'll just put it that way. Some really interesting ideas here. You had Robert Englund. And I will admit, sometimes when you have a lot of these horror icons coming together, especially lately in a movie, oftentimes it doesn't really work out that great. This is definitely not your cream of the crop of the year. This ain't When Evil Lurks, all right? But I think if you're a fan of Danielle Harris, then this is something that you would probably like. It does have kind of a charming young cast in it as well. And like I said, it's not horrible at all. I had a good time with it, but at the end of the day, I didn't think it was anything special. And it's a shame having Dwight H. Little reuniting with Danielle Harris after all these years. It is a shame. I know this movie was a victim of the pandemic as well. Danielle actually talked about it on her podcast, how she wasn't able to get out there and really promote it, and that might have hurt the film as well. But yeah. Okay, getting into the top 10, I will say these first two are on the like side. I did find some enjoyment out of these movies. First one is She Came from the Woods, Eric Blomquist. This is a camp slasher with kind of a witch edge. It's not like I guess it's really not like a tried and true slasher. Funny enough, I just posted on Instagram, like, is there a better tried and true slasher than Friday the 13th Part 4? I don't think so. I think that is the cream of the crop. Let me know down in the comments if there is a movie that really checks every box as far as what we love about slasher movies. It's got to be Friday Part 4. But anyway, She Came from the Woods. I like that this one was unique. It was different. You know, what would you do if you kind of mixed two subgenres together, the slasher and the witch movie, and put them together? The witch is kind of creepy here. You do have some fun, lighthearted moments with the camp counselors. I know Eric Blomquist, he just had another slasher come out called Founders Day. I've been freaking swamped, and I've been meaning to get around to checking that one out. When I do, I'll definitely get a review out for it. Okay, number 9, It Lives Inside. This one I think had a lot of potential. It didn't fully send it home. Another creature feature, but really you don't get the reveal until like the very end of the movie. So it's more of a psychological thing. I like that it delved into a specific culture, you know, the Indian culture, and a curse that exists in that culture, which is a really cool thing because I lived in Japan for 3 years, and I know Japan has their own curses that they have in their, I guess, folklore. Same thing here. Let's make a horror movie around one of these curses, and it was pretty effective. I don't think it was the best directed movie, or maybe just the storytelling didn't all come together like I wanted it to. You know, this is one that I think had more potential, but I still admired the work that was put into it, and there were a couple of pretty chilling scenes, and the creature reveal is pretty chilling too. I'll give it that. But you know, I was just talking about like a creature was stirring. That gave me the payoff that I wanted for a creature feature. That was a far better film. Okay, now it's time to get into the stinkers. We are officially knee deep in there. Number 8 is Megan. And you know what? A lot of you loved this movie. A lot of you actually put this like in your top 5 of the year. Because I posted on X, give me your top 3 favorite movies of the year. And I did see Megan pop up. And there were so many people that loved this movie that I gave it a second try. I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong. My mind does change from time to time. I'm going to give this movie another try. Surely I'm wrong. I'm going to come around to this, and I quickly realized why I didn't like the movie in the first place. Didn't care for the characters. Honestly, I was pretty bored by the movie. The character Megan, I think, is effective. If you put her in a different movie with different characters, I think I would have liked this a lot more. But I think everybody was just assholes in this movie. Maybe that's it. You know, and the only asshole should be Megan? I don't know. No, I'm wrong on that. You can have asshole characters. But yeah, it's another one of those movies that had potential. When I saw the trailer for Megan, I was like, oh yes, I am definitely down for that. And I think the main killer, the doll, Megan, is a great character. And if they come out with another movie, I'll definitely be there day one, because there are horror movies that the first movie I didn't like The Nun. And then here comes The Nun 2, and it was really great because Valak is a great character. But sometimes you put great characters in really shitty horror movies. This was a situation here with Megan, and I feel like it's 50-50. Like, a lot of people really like this movie. And I know I'm rambling here, but also I don't get how you don't prefer the Child's Play remake over Megan, all right? And I know that that's a controversial thing to say, but I recently watched the Child's Play remake, which is a Christmas movie, by the way. That movie is so damn fun, and some really hilarious kill scenes. It's bloody as hell. I just think there's a lot more variety in the Child's Play remake, and I think just because it's not Brad Dourif, it's not really even Chucky. people give it a hard time. Okay, number 7, Five Nights at Freddy's. Another one that a lot of you loved. This movie made a buttload at the box office. I saw it at a press screening, actually, an advanced screening, and I don't get it. And maybe it's because the premise has a lot of potential, and maybe it's because I'm not a fan of the game Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm not a gamer. So I was just watching Willy's Wonderland again last night. That's a fun movie. It's not perfect, but at least there's some great carnage in there. And I think what this movie failed to do was keep it fun. And I don't mind if you try to get a little bit deep and philosophical and go into a character's past, but I don't think this movie finished the journey with that. You know, you were showing the main character's past and these issues that he was having that kept creeping up. And at first I was like, oh, this could be a nice little interesting character study, kind of like the Black Phone. But it really amounted to nothing. So then all you're left with is the Freddys creatures, animatronics. And every single time it was a cutaway. They would show that dreaded shadow of blood going against the wall. You know, not the actual blood, but an actual shadow. That's the kind of shit that they show in these PG-13 horror movies. I don't mind PG-13 horror movies if they are directed well and they don't try to, mask everything. Let's just put it this way. I think it takes a good director to make a great PG-13 horror movie. There are definitely good examples. This ain't one of them. And the reason this one failed is because it showed kill scenes that in an R-rated version, we would have gotten the end result and it would have been a much better movie. But because it was PG-13, they kept cutting away. And that just annoys the shit out of me. And you don't have a really interesting story around that. Okay, number 6, Exorcist Believer. Man, I'm hitting you with some doozies these last 3. I guess there's your proof that I'm not a freaking David Gordon Green stan. I get shit all the time because I like his Halloween trilogy. No apologies, I still really enjoy it. I think David Gordon Green is a talented director, and I think he's suited for certain subgenres of horror. Exorcist ain't it. It ain't one of them. His directing style does not marry up with The Exorcist at all. And I will even say the editing in this movie and the direction was all over the place. And they're trying to set up a scare, or they're trying to set up an ominous scene, but it didn't feel consistent. There would be a couple of scenes that were really effective where you would see like a demon behind a character. Overall, I think the movie just failed from an editing standpoint. This is one of those rare examples where editing really hurt the movie. Also, story-wise, I don't think you have to have an Exorcist movie centered around the Catholic religion. Not at all. Look, at the end of the day, guys, I just want to be entertained, okay? I think the last act of this movie, it fell so flat. And they're trying to have all these different religions play a part in the final act to beat the demon. And they kind of cancel each other out. They really do. I'm a massive fan of the original Exorcist. I think it's one of the greatest horror films ever made. If anybody says they're bored by that movie, then they're wrong, okay? You're just wrong. You're damn wrong, because The Exorcist is phenomenal, okay? Maybe it's the short attention spans today, Jesus, but that's a great film. Scares are subjective, but I think it's one of the scariest films ever made still. But Believer is just forgettable. I don't think it's as bad as Heretic. Heretic's a very boring movie and really, really tough to get through. And I've been meaning to watch it again, but I just can't do it. But Believer, I think it's just a failed attempt. And really, I don't think you needed 2 little girls in this movie. Again, it's another situation where they kind of cancel each other out. I don't know. I think maybe you need to focus on one victim. Number 5, Haunted Mansion. This is a case where the movie was so forgettable that I pretty much almost forgot everything, 10 minutes after I walked out of the theater. You ever go to a movie and it's just so bland and you can't really latch on to anything, and there's, the property, the Haunted Mansion, I'm a big fan of the ride. I go every year. I live here in Orlando, and it is my favorite ride there. But when you try to put that in a hour and a half, 2-hour movie, it just fails. It fails miserably, because maybe it just needs to be an experience. Maybe the ride experience just isn't going to translate to the movie experience. I don't know. Like Jared Leto's your villain in this movie. And he's completely forgettable. He's not scary at all. Nothing. I mean, not that I want this movie to be scary because it's a kid's movie. But, there's a lot of kids' movies I like. I just reviewed Monster House, and I have a blast with that. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just tough to make a good horror kids movie. You have to, lean more on the comedy side. And the comedy didn't really land in this. To be fair, though, I think Rosario Dawson is very charming. Lakeith Stanfield, always love his work. Even if it's a bad movie, if you get his acting, it's not the worst thing in the world. But I'll never watch this movie again. Number 4, Insidious, The Red Door. Look, I'm not a big fan of the Insidious franchise anyway. The first one's really good. The second one is really weird. And then the rest of them are very forgettable. So this one, I was curious because they keep teasing, I guess, the red demon. And he's in this, but instead of focusing on that, they focus on this family drama. And you spend most of the time in a college setting with the son of the main characters in the first movie. Patrick Wilson directs this. It's a beautifully shot film. It looks great. But I think the problem here is just the script. It's not scary at all. Look, it's hard to write a scary horror movie. It just is. And even if you write it, you still got to direct it in such a way to keep it scary. I think it was it John Carpenter that said every director in his heart of hearts wants to scare an audience at least once. I give credit to Patrick Wilson for trying, but in the end, it just failed and it was just very boring. And it's a shame. I'm not really looking for any more Insidious movies. Even if you're like a diehard fan of this franchise, I don't know, you might like this. I'm not sure. Number 3, Haunting in Venice. I think this is a situation where it ain't for me. Sometimes you get a movie like that everybody else seems to like the movie. But yeah, it's just not my bag. And maybe it's, I don't know if you'd call this highbrow. I don't think it's highbrow. It's well produced, it's a big studio movie. It's one of those like Agatha Christie type mysteries, but I guess I'm what you call a dirty horror fan. For lack of a better term. I like grindhouse type stuff. I like shocking horror. Not always. I think The Exorcist is a very beautifully directed movie. So I have a wide palette. I love Italian horror movies, but there's some subgenres of horror that just aren't for me. And maybe the highbrow mystery just ain't for me. I didn't find anything in this movie that was captivating or titillating. Tina Fey was in this movie, which is a weird casting, and I love Tina Fey. Yeah, it's just another movie, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I was just bored out of my mind, okay? And we're not done with the word bored. I apologize. Before I go forward, I'll just say this, okay? Because I know you might get sick of hearing me say a movie bored me, but that is the worst crime that any horror movie can do to me. If you bore me, then you are insufferable. All right, I hate being bored in really any movie because you're wasting my time. Okay, top 2, here we go. And I had a tough time figuring out which one's number 1 because they're 2 very different types of movies. But I'm gonna give number 2 Skinnamarink. I was going to give it number 1 because technically it is torture. There's boredom and then there's torture to get through. That's what Skinnamarink was for me. I just was in shock at what I was watching, and I'm sitting in the theater and I'm waiting for the story to progress, and then all of a sudden I realize it's 20 minutes into this thing and it's still kind of doing the same thing. I acknowledge the art, that's there. This is a very artistic film, and I'm not upset that this was made. I think movies like this need to be made. I appreciate the value here. But at the end of the day, you gotta at least entertain me or give me a forward-moving story. And this isn't that. It's more of an experience. And there's a few people that really enjoy this movie and they liked it. And I love that. I love that. If anything, this is the one movie out of this countdown that I think I respect the most, but sometimes every now and then, if I respect a movie, that doesn't mean I like the movie. And this was that case, right? But I think horror needs to push boundaries every now and then, and sometimes it'll be a movie that I don't necessarily like. And hell, you can even say like when Blair Witch came out. I love Blair Witch, but there's a lot of people, when that movie came out, they did not quote unquote get it. They hated the movie. It was just so different. But I really loved the Blair Witch Project the first time I saw it. I thought the ending was chilling. At least there was still a forward-moving plot. It was one of those movies where you knew what the ending was gonna be and you're just kind of waiting for it to happen, which is an interesting thing. So, but yeah, Skinnamarink, I don't really have to tell you anything anymore. You know what I'm talking about. It's just a random sequence of shots, you know, like maybe up in a corner. Every YouTuber was doing this gimmick, including me, in their review for the movie. They would put just random images throughout the review. I thought I was clever. I wasn't. And number one, I'm giving it to The Black Demon. Some of you might have seen this movie. There's so many bad shark movies that come out. And this one made the ultimate crime of taking itself seriously. That's what this did. And really, it didn't show the shark. And if you're not gonna show the shark, then you better have damn good characters, a compelling story. Because you can always reference Jaws here. They don't show much of the shark, but man, the Brodies are just so damn interesting. And you got Hooper, and he's hilarious. And you're in there. You feel like you are a fly on the wall watching this wonderful story unfold. But this was just so damn generic. And nothing cutting edge, nothing new brought to the table. Yeah, Josh Lucas trying to, do his best to make the family drama compelling. But all it does is just get in the way of the movie. You're waiting to see this mega shark. They can't make a good mega shark movie, The Meg, I think the first one's horrible. Haven't seen the second one. Don't want to see the second one. And same thing here. It's based on this interesting like Mexican curse, kind of like the Loch Ness Monster, stuff like that. But they don't really explore that. They even have like a discount Quint in this. Just a really, really bad movie. So yeah, it easily tops my list. So anyway, guys, in the comments, let me know your worst of the year. Looking forward to seeing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums and on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Drumdum out.